right, the second part of part one, we're going to be able to knock out chapters 2 and 3 in one video. So we'll get started. Chapter 2, the service characteristics of hospitality and tourism. This chapter in and of itself talks about the importance of providing service in a service industry based on your marketing strategies. So how that helps. And one thing it starts off by doing in the chapter is defining service culture and giving us an idea that that service culture focuses on serving the customer and satisfying their needs. So again, within the hospitality and tourism industry and how that affects travel and how we're affected by guest travel, we have to understand that there's a level of service that we have to provide in order to fulfill the marketing strategies that we do. Even the best laid marketing plan will fall short if we don't meet certain levels of service characteristics. So that is a top-down approach. Your service has to start with management and flow down that way. One thing we talk about, and we mentioned it back in chapter 1, but let's take the Ritz-Carlton, for example. And again, that's the upper echelon of the lodging industry, right? But we talked about the lifetime value of a customer at the Ritz-Carlton being, I believe the exact number we used was about $250,000. So $250,000, think about that in terms of the level of service that you need to provide. So much so that the Ritz-Carlton has what's considered the $2,000 rule. And that rule simply states that anyone working for Ritz-Carlton can provide $2,000 in service recovery, no questions asked. You heard that right. $2,000 in service recovery, no questions asked. They want you to fix the problem and not let it snowball, right? Not really give your guest a chance to make it, to let the situation get worse. Want to really go ahead and nip it in the bud there. So take, for instance, someone, has a complaint at the front desk. Again, the front desk agent, no matter if they're part-time and work 1 day a month, that person is empowered to offer $2,000 in service recovery. Now, again, they don't have to use it for everything. Some things may warrant $2,000. Some things obviously may not. So there may be questions after the fact of, hey, how could we have done this better? Was this warranted? But nonetheless, they do not have to ask for approval to offer up to $2,000. Again, because Ritz-Carlton understands that $2,000 is a mere drop in the bucket on average based on the lifetime value of their customer and what they've identified that as. So again, think about that when it comes to the hospitality industry and the service culture that they promote. So obviously there's different sides of that, right? There's, companies that, provide a different level of service and have different ways of going into service, but we'll talk about a few of those here next when we move into the 4 characteristics that affect marketing of a hospitality and travel product. So let me go ahead and say this too. Throughout this chapter, when you read, everything's going to be in numbers. You're going to see the 4 characteristics of this, the 3 segments of this, the 3 concepts of that, the 7 marketing strategies for service business. You'll see that. Don't get hung up on the numbers as much as you try to identify and understand the importance of how that plays in to the overall marketing of a business based on the service they provide. Okay, so we move into, like I said, the 4 service characteristics that affect the marketing of a hospitality and travel product. It talks about the intangibility, inseparability, variability, and perishability. So just to give you an idea of what these 4 things are. With intangibility, just think obviously the product that you're serving is the tangible, right? We can feel it, touch it, taste it, whatever it might be. The service aspect of that is the intangible part. Okay, so that's what we can't really put a finger on, but yet we know it impacts our overall feeling of the business. The next one's inseparability. And really, this one is kind of one of those things where you're, for lack of I'll say lack of a better term, but it does make sense, is you're held hostage by how your other other factors impact customers' feelings about you. So the book, I don't know if the book gives this example, but it's one that I wrote down. I'm pretty sure it was in the book. But think about, someone, we don't have smoking restaurants necessarily anymore, but you go into a smoking restaurant and you don't smoke, but someone around you does. It may affect your ability to enjoy your meal, right? And then you can't separate the fact that it wasn't the business or the food that you didn't enjoy, it was the smoking. You put those two together and they're inseparable, right? So the next is variability, and really that's the consistency aspect of it. So one of the things that we do with this is, take a second to think to yourself, how many of us really think McDonald's makes an excellent hamburger? I'm guessing no one said me, right? But how many times have we eaten at McDonald's in the last year? A few more people are definitely going to say me if they're being honest with themselves, especially if you have children, or those new adult Happy Meals that have come out. But that right there shows you the variability. McDonald's is able to give you the same hamburger, right? The same product each time, no matter where you go across the country, you still get the same hamburger. Something else that's true in is what we see more popular here in Greenville here lately is like craft beer. So craft breweries are, again, making a craft beverage. Now they may have the same beverage on all the time, but the flavoring may vary slightly from batch to batch. However, if you go to a major big brand like Coors, Budweiser, um, Corona, something like that, those beers are going to taste the exact same every time. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of that variability. And then perishability. One of the things that we learn about with perishability is, and we don't necessarily understand as the consumer, but restaurants set out to provide food for a certain amount of guests. And if they've, you know, certain types of items and things, if they prepared this for customers and those customers don't come, then they've effectively lost the opportunity to serve those customers that food because the items are perishable. That's a great example for food trucks, right? So, food trucks now a lot of times require a minimum or require a set number to serve, because if they don't, then they're stuck possibly with a lot of prepped food that cannot be used later. So again, really the outline of this chapter talking about the service culture and how it focuses on satisfying and serving our customers, right? They're the number one there. Types of marketing is another part to be interested, to be kind of cognizant of: internal marketing, external marketing, and interactive marketing. And then you've got the 7 marketing strategies for service business, right? And that's managing the differentiation, service quality, service productivity, resolving customer complaints, like we talked about again with Ritz-Carlton and how well they do that. Managing employees as part of the product, really letting employees again have that training and motivation and empowerment to do so. Managing your perceived risk. Again, you think about it, we can't eliminate guest complaints. We can't eliminate some of those things that happen, but we can manage that after the fact. Okay, and then managing capacity and demand, making sure that we do well to understand our market. Obviously, that's something that's big in the restaurant industry and even in the hotel and lodging industry when it comes to special events. Think of our restaurants as Mother's Day brunches, New Year's Eve reservations, those kinds of things. So being able to manage capacity and demand well will really help us on the marketing side. Time to pause it if you want to head on over to chapter 3 as we get started there. All right, so looking at chapter 3, we talk about the role of marketing in the strategic planning process of your business. And really what you have to realize is strategic planning in and of itself is how we keep our company going if something bad happens or something that we don't expect to happen happens. This the strategy of our business and the strategic planning portion of it has to be consistent. One of the examples that we give here is that once we determine, who our customer is and realize that our strategy is to target, in a hotel, let's say to target a business traveler with a first class product. That doesn't mean that we can, that doesn't mean we don't take everyone or anything like that, but it does mean that we don't turn around and start marketing a discounted rate to leisure guests. Okay, so, think about it like this with your marketing strategy and your strategic plan overall. When things aren't going great, focus on that strategic plan. Don't just abandon ship. Okay, you can't just give up and take off. The next part we talk about is the concepts of our stakeholder, process, resources, and organization. You think about a stakeholder as anyone that has a stake in your business. Okay, so again, it's not just our customers. It could be our shareholders or stakeholders if it's a publicly traded company. Our employees obviously have that. The people that supply us are a stakeholder in our business, right? Their business may rely on our business, and then distributors as well. The processes that we have to think about is how we determine how processes are completed within our business. A lot of companies have always just been departmental. Hey, I focus on what I focus on. I get this done. At the end of the month, I can do this, while my general manager or, restaurant manager, whatever, has to lead all departments. I only have to worry about mine. A lot of places are focusing more on the process instead of the department, and really trying to pull it all together, making sure that it's all there. Resources and organization there, you can read about those in the book. There is a great example on page 59. It's table 3-1 that talks about gearing up some of the questions that we need to, ask ourselves to create, to get questions out there for how we are doing our business and defining the characteristics that we want to market. The activities and what it takes to do a corporate strategic plan and our setting our mission and goals. That's going to be prevalent in your assignment number 1. That's going to be due in a few weeks. Again, there'll be a video about that. But understanding what your mission is and setting that straight and being able to define how you're going to be competitive within the market. We also talk about business portfolios and growth strategies. One of the examples that I like to use here where a lot of times we're defined by our product, right? So if it's a hotel, we're defined by lodging, we're defined by beds, right? But we also have to figure out a way to be able to meet the customer's needs and differentiate ourselves that way. And I always like to use the Holiday Inn Express example in their marketing plan. Holiday Inn Express understands their market. They understand that they're going to have the business traveler, the leisure guest. They understand that. There's so many other places that offer the same thing. But guess what? They came up with a program that said, hey, it was commercials that said, hey, no, I'm not, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, to create that value of a great night's sleep and how that can prepare you for the next day. And it stuck, right? So next we kind of explain the steps of the business strategy planning process. Is basically, if you turn to page 72, figure 3.4, it gives you a little idea of that. Really, the analysis of our business starts with a planning process. Then we implement what we've planned, and then we work on controlling that for continued compliance with the plan and the steps that we've put in place. If we get to the control aspect of it and some things need change, then guess what? We loop back around and start over. But this is where we really defined our SWOT analysis for our business, and it requires us to do this honestly. So many times it's easy for us to just kind of give up because, hey, it's our business. These are my strengths. I don't have any weaknesses, but that's not necessarily the case. We need to be honest with ourselves when we determine our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, because that's how we define our strategy moving forward and how we stick to that, again, when not everything is going great. That's the end of chapter 3. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Good luck with your quizzes, tests, discussion boards. Have a good day.